What if one game could raise your standards so high that everything else suddenly feels unfinished and disappointing? Today, we're counting 10 games that don't just entertain you. They change what you expect from every game you play afterward. I still remember the first time Cyberpunk 2077 made me forget I was even playing a game. Night City has this weird pull that keeps dragging you deeper. You can start with a simple mission, then notice a strange building, or hear a conversation nearby, and suddenly you're chasing something completely different. The world feels packed with stories that don't always ask for your attention. Then the combat kicks in, and things get even better. You can sneak through a room, hack cameras, rush in with a shotgun, or mix everything together. The best part is how your choices actually shape the way V feels and plays. There are flaws, and some systems can still feel uneven, but the atmosphere is hard to shake. After spending enough time in Night City, other open worlds can feel strangely empty. And that's when you realize just how dangerous this game is for your gaming backlog. The first time Sekiro. Shadows die. Twice really clicked for me. I stopped thinking about winning and started thinking about timing. That change completely transformed the game. Every sword fight feels like a conversation where one bad answer gets you killed. You don't hide behind a huge build or overpower everything with better gear. You learn the enemy, watch their movement, and meet every attack with confidence. When you finally deflect a boss perfectly, the sound and rhythm are incredibly satisfying. Then you realize you just handled a fight that felt impossible an hour earlier. The world helps too, with hidden paths, vertical exploration, and secrets that reward curiosity. It can be brutally demanding though, especially if you're used to dodging your way through tough games. But once Sekiro teaches you its language, other combat systems can suddenly feel slow and loose. It's one of those games that doesn't simply challenge you, it changes the way you play. I didn't expect God of War Ragnarök to make me care so much about quiet moments between the fights. The combat is fantastic, but the real surprise is how much personality lives outside the battles. Kratos feels heavier and more thoughtful, while Atreus is constantly pushing against his father's decisions. Their conversations during exploration make the world feel alive without slowing everything down. Then a fight starts, and the game suddenly reminds you why controlling Kratos is so satisfying. Switching weapons, chaining attacks, and finding the right opening can make even regular enemies feel dangerous. Some sections do stretch longer than they need to, and the pacing isn't perfect. Still, the amount of detail packed into each realm is ridiculous. You can wander off the main path and find something that feels like a carefully planned adventure. After playing Ragnarök, it's easy to look at other action games and wonder why their characters and worlds don't feel this complete. There's something about Resident Evil 4 Remake that makes almost every other action horror game feel a little too comfortable. The moment Leon steps into that village, you know you're in trouble. Enemies don't politely wait for their turn. They surround you, pressure you, and force you to make quick decisions with limited resources. Even a simple fight can turn into complete chaos within seconds. What makes it special is how smooth everything feels while you're trying to survive. Shooting, parrying, moving, and managing your inventory all work together without getting in the way. Then the game throws you into another bizarre situation, and somehow it all fits. The story has plenty of ridiculous moments, but the remake never loses its dark atmosphere. Some sections feel more familiar than surprising if you've played the original, but the modernized combat makes returning worthwhile. After this, plenty of horror games can feel painfully slow by comparison. I remember riding across Tsushima with no objective, just following the wind because the world looked too beautiful to ignore. Ghost of Tsushima has that rare quality where exploring can feel more rewarding than finishing the next mission. One moment you're crossing a field covered in flowers, and the next you're following a fox toward a hidden shrine. Then combat pulls you back in, and suddenly every sword fight feels personal. Switching stances against different enemies keeps battles tense without making them complicated. The duels are especially memorable, with quiet moments that build into incredibly satisfying clashes. I also love how the game lets you approach missions at your own pace. There are stealth options, direct confrontations, and plenty of reasons to wander away from the main story. Some side activities can become repetitive over time, but the atmosphere carries you through them. After spending hours on Tsushima, jumping into another open world can feel strangely lifeless. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the game that made me realize how much I was willing to slow down for a virtual world. I've spent entire sessions doing almost nothing important, just riding through the wilderness and seeing what happens. A random stranger might need help, an animal might cross your path, or your gang might start another argument at camp. Those little moments make Arthur Morgan feel like a person instead of a character waiting for the next mission. Then the story hits you with scenes that can completely change how you see him. The gunfights are great, but honestly, they aren't even the biggest reason this game sticks with you. It's the tiny details that get under your skin. Horses react differently, towns feel busy, and the world keeps moving when you're not looking. The pacing can be slow, especially early on, but that patience pays off. After Red Dead Redemption 2, some open worlds can feel like empty maps filled with objectives. I thought I knew what a great open world looked like until The Witcher 3. Wild Hunt kept surprising me in places I wasn't even supposed to care about. You can ride toward one objective, spot something strange in the distance, and completely forget why you were traveling there. What really separates it is the writing. A tiny side quest can introduce a character, force a difficult choice, and leave you thinking about the outcome hours later. There's rarely a clean answer, and Geralt often has to choose between two bad options. The combat isn't the deepest system here, and parts of the movement can feel dated today. But then, the world pulls you back with another story you didn't expect to find. Even the contracts feel better when you investigate the creature instead of simply running in and swinging your sword. After finishing The Witcher 3, I started judging other RPGs by their side quests. That's a pretty unfair standard, because very few games come close. Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 feels like the kind of RPG where getting into trouble is sometimes more memorable than completing the mission. You play as Henry, but the game rarely treats him like some unstoppable hero. Early on, even a simple fight can turn ugly if you get careless. That makes progress feel earned instead of handed to you. What surprised me most is how naturally the world reacts to what you're doing. Conversations, reputation, skills, and choices can change how situations unfold. You might prepare for one plan only to stumble into something completely different. The medieval setting also feels unusually grounded, with busy towns, muddy roads, and people who seem to have their own lives. The pacing can be slower than modern action RPGs, and that won't work for everyone. But if you give it time, the world starts feeling less like a game map and more like a place you're actually living in. After this, some RPGs can feel way too scripted.
You knocked the stuffing out of me.
The first time Baldur's Gate 3 let me solve a problem in a completely ridiculous way, I realized this game was playing by different rules. You can walk into a situation with one plan and leave with a result you never expected. A conversation can become a fight can be avoided, or some random spell can create an entirely new solution. That's what makes the world so fun to experiment with. Your party members also aren't just extra characters following you around. They have their own opinions, secrets, and limits, and sometimes they'll argue with choices you make. Combat takes patience, but once you understand the possibilities, even a difficult encounter can feel like your own little puzzle. the sheer freedom can also be overwhelming, especially when you realize how many paths you've ignored. And that's the dangerous part. You finish one quest thinking you're done, then discover 3 more stories hiding behind a decision you almost didn't make. After Baldur's Gate 3, some RPGs can feel like they're asking you to follow instructions instead of letting you play. There was a point in Elden Ring where I stopped caring about the main path and just wanted to know what was hiding over the next hill. The lands between constantly rewards that curiosity. You can spot a strange castle, follow a distant light, or enter a cave that looks completely harmless. 10 minutes later, you're fighting something you definitely weren't ready for. That sense of discovery is what makes Elden Ring so hard to put down. The combat gives you room to experiment too. You can build around huge weapons, magic, fast attacks, or something completely weird that somehow works. Boss fights can be brutal, but beating one after learning its patterns feels genuinely earned. The game can be confusing at times, and some areas are far less memorable than others. Still, very few games make exploration feel this mysterious. After Elden Ring, you start noticing how many open worlds tell you exactly where everything is.
A curse upon thee.
And that's the list. These games aren't perfect, but each one does something so well that it can change what you expect from gaming. Now I want to know which game ruined other games for you. Drop your pick in the comments and tell me why. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more gaming lists and recommendations. I'll see you in the next one.